Hey guys, welcome back to Overwatch. Today we're going to be talking about the map Hanamura. Hanamura is a two capture points, capture point A, capture point B map. It's a very good map, and in my opinion, the first point favours the attacking side, and the second point favours the defending side. Now, I know that may sound kind of contradictory, but to what a lot of people are saying, but I feel that this map is one of those maps where if you know how to hold out, if you can kind of get the right spot and you can really kind of sync in with the right team with the right composition, you can hold off on this particular point for a really long time. So the first thing I'm going to talk about actually is point A. So let's just make our way quickly over to point A, and while I'm there, I'll give you a little bit of background on the map. So this map is, as far as we can tell, is either the home place or a place nearby, or it's got basically a lot to do with Hanzo and Genji, which is why at the start of the map you'll hear Hanzo and Genji making references to like, oh, this is where I grew up, similar to what Tracer does when you go into King's Row. So this is point A. When you're defending, you have a very good point of choke, or choke point, or whatever you want to call it, right here. Now, one of the things I really want to make people aware of is this is a really good choke. It can be filled up by a Mei Ice Wall or by a Reinhardt Shield, like all those kind of wide shots or wide blocks can really fill in this gap really nicely, so you can push through here. But what too many people do is too many people see this and think this is the only way. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is how to attack point A. So attacking point A, the first bit of defense you'll see as you come out of the spawn will most probably be around on this thing. You like to see Pharaohs and Junkrats up here, but you also like to see the occasional Widowmaker sitting on these stairs over here and just generally being a nuisance. But shouldn't cause you too much trouble. I would say if you push up as a team, they're too far away from their spawn and you're too close to your spawn, you might die once or twice, but it's not going to be too much of a big deal. And to be honest, I think this is a really bad idea to do this, because losing people here is way worse than losing people back there. If you trade 1 for 1 here, you aren't helping your team defend. But if you trade 1 for 1 back there, you are. So I would say push through here, kill as many people as you can. Don't worry about if you die once or twice. But then when you come here, or on the other side, if you come over here, I would say this probably isn't your best idea, because over here, unless you are playing Genji or Hanzo, there is literally no way over without going past this choke point, and you don't want to go here. So the first thing you want to do is, I would recommend come around this way. And then you need to come up with your attack, with your angle of attack. So as you can see, there's 1 gap, 2 gaps, 3 gaps, 4 gaps, and you can make it over there, but it gets a little bit tricky, so I wouldn't. So you need to decide where you're going to go. So this is where I like flanking, basically. You can have a Reinhardt or a tank come up here and draw all the fire in the world, whereas you playing Genji or Reaper or Hanzo, or loads of people that can do this, you can climb up over this wall, and then I would say once you're here, they're going to start shooting you. Now, I'll talk about defending on this point in a second, but I would say your best bet is once you go up here, make a quick dash and land here. Once you're here, you're pretty safe. The only people that can kill you are people that can be in this room, and the only people that like to go in this room are maybe Bastions, Torbjorns, and Symmetras. Excuse me. All of those aren't too much of a problem if you're playing a champion that can get up there. You should have relatively high mobility and you should be able to get away from them, no problem. So my favourite thing to do when I'm up there is come back around here. You might meet a little bit of resistance around here. If you do, let people know. If you don't, just try and blitz through them. Maybe kill them if you can, if you find them low or something. But basically your objective is to come around here. You can climb up this wall if you want. If you're playing someone who can climb walls, I do recommend this, but I wouldn't recommend it at the cost of, say, like a Reaper or something. Probably not a very good idea. And then come up here and get the point. Once you get this point, they're going to start retreating. So a really good idea you can do after that is you can tag the point, or you don't even need to tag the point. If you know there's at least 1 sniper up here, don't be afraid to come up here, and at the very least just pressure them off the point. You'll be amazed how much you can do if you just go bang, 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 and then get the sniper. Don't even go for the kill. Just pressure them off the point. Excuse me. Don't even get the kill. Just pressure them off the point. Just try and make them move. Like, this is a really good tip I would say on this map. On this map, this position favours the attackers, but the defenders are going to have most of their support coming from people that are up on the high ground, or are up on shots where they can just filter into the choke point. And forcing them to move is really useful on this map. So even if you don't get kills, just force them to move, just stretch them about. Once you get into this point, it's surprisingly difficult for them to shove you off. I would say that this, like, if you divide it into quarters, so you have a line that goes along there, and then a line that goes along here, the safest quarter for you to be in is this quarter here. This position right here is really good, because the only way they can get to you is if they run round here, come up the back there, and appear round here, and even then you have a shot on them. And there's not much they can do to stop you getting a shot on them. So you can sit here, you're in the control point, and you will just deal. It's really difficult to unseat you, basically. Pharaohs can't hit you. Explosives can't hit you. Like they're going to have a really difficult time to unseat you if you're there. However, of course, if your whole team's here, don't all group up on that point, because then one ability will kill you all. But if you are the only person here, stay just somewhere and try and get as many people to fall back as possible, and try and buy as much time for your team as possible. That's attacking point 1. We're now going to talk about defending point 1. As you notice, when I said attacking point 1, I did not mention this room at all. The only reason I feel you should ever go into this room is if you are desperate, or you have a very specific plan, i.e. the tanks will go through here, and like this is what I'm saying, it doesn't really give you that many options at all, this particular route. It gives you over here, and you're just so exposed the whole time you do this, that the only person who can really make this work is probably Tracer, and even if you are Tracer, it takes about twice as long, you're exposed twice as much, and it presents you in the same spot. It's just not very useful. The only real redeeming factor this one has, before I mentioned getting up to that top rafter and being able to take out the snipers. If you're playing someone like Tracer, you can do the same along here. If you're playing Genji, you can double jump across here, and then you're in the same position. And again, I would say, people just ignore this little rafter if you're on attack. People just ignore this and be like, oh, I can't get up there, I'll just try and long range them. No, get up in their face, get up in their grill. Try and force them to make mistakes, force them to make, like, to push out and pressure them in places they don't want to be pressured. All that kind of good stuff. Anyway, let's talk about defending this point. So, when you're on this particular point, this is a very good point to defend. As I say, you probably will get flanked, but you'll be surprised how often you don't get flanked. So just don't be afraid to stand up here. I would never stand here. Standing on the edge here means you're vulnerable from fire from there, from there, from there, from there, from there, from everywhere basically. If you drop back just to here, you're vulnerable for fire from there and there and there, and you can still shoot them as they come over the choke. You can just dive forward and do it. So I would say if you're playing Widowmaker or even a Hanzo, Widowmaker especially, this is the place you want to be. If you are playing Widowmaker, the other spot you can go is here. And again, don't stand on the edge because you're vulnerable for fire from all this angle. If you stand back here, you can shoot through here, and you'll be surprised how many Pharahs and how many Soldier 76s love to come up here for some reason. And then you can just get free kills on all of them. And this is defending, remember? So be ready to jump and move. A really cool little survival technique I found if you do like stay on this rafter, and I would say if you are playing your snipers, you need to go on this rafter or some high ground. There isn't that many other good high ground. The only other spot is that bridge over there, which we'll talk about in a second. But you really just want to stay on this rafter and get as much damage as possible. If you find yourself under pressure, don't be afraid to retreat into here, and then try and take a few shots, and again, come over to this bridge, and if this is a real last second defense, you're in a relatively safe spot here. You can get flanked really easily from over here, but this covers the courtyard really well. You can kind of go wherever you want, just try and get a few kills. If you are killed as a sniper, the chances are you're not going to be able to make it back before the person who killed you is going to be on the point. Very important to realise that. Very important to understand that you staying alive and dealing damage is more important than you dying and getting a kill. In this position, trading 1-for-1 as the attacking team is always worth it. Trading 1-for-1 as the defending team is not, ever. If you die and you get one kill, you're not doing your job right on this particular point. So, defending this room here. As you notice, I said nothing about this room on the attacking. That's because this is very much a defender's room. Symmetras set up here. You can put turrets up here. You can put turrets on the back wall over here. You can really make it very difficult for them to do anything. You can even put your teleporter back here, and you'll be amazed how often it stays alive. It looks really open, and that's because it kind of is really open. But, like, look, hang on, if I can make it over here. I just did. Why can't I do it anymore? Over here. Look, you can't make it over here. There's nothing there. There's an invisible wall up there. Like, they can't make it over here. This is a really good spot, and you can defend it all that way, and there's basically no way of them getting back down the other way. There's pretty much no way of them coming across here, coming through here, and killing your teleporter down. There pretty much isn't. So I think here is a really good spot for setting up your first turret. You'll be amazed how many positions it gets you. However, if you don't want to overcrowd this situation, I would say that Symmetras want to set up here, but also people who want to set up here, and people that Symmetra should let set up here, are Bastions and Tourbillons. Bastions want to go right at the back here, I would say. This means that there's no way really they can get snuck up on, and they have a full line of shot. If they go here, they can be snuck up from there, or from there, and if they go right here, they can get people coming in behind them, which is where Bastions do not want people to be. So I would say right at the back corner, there's probably your best bet. You are going to sacrifice some damage, because of course you're much further away, but here's going to be a good spot. You'll be amazed the amount of damage you can put out, and if you do get cornered, you can heal yourself. It's a very narrow cone of fire, but that hinders your opponents just as much as it hinders you. And buying time, getting people damaged is really worth it when you're in this position. Tourbillons might want to set up here, however, I don't particularly like this. I think the better place for Tourbillons to set up is back here. So you've got that side of the map. That side is where you need your siegers to set up, and people who just really want to hold up areas and to set up there. Don't be afraid if you're a tank and you know there's a Bastion in here. If you're playing D.Va or Reinhardt or even someone like Xayah, don't be afraid to be here. You'll be amazed the amount of damage you can absorb, and you can just get so many kills doing that. So this whole choke here is going to be great if you're snipers and all that, but if you're not, don't stand here. Unless you're Mei, you can just ice wall, ice wall, ice wall. Don't stand there very much. The other place Symmetrists can set up is along this little patch of wall here, and this section here, which I'm standing in, this kind of decking area. This is going to be a really, really useful place, and this is a really important place that no one really talks about that much. The choke is always going to be useful. That's where most people are going to die. This room's really useful because you can pepper loads of fire for basically for free, but this section over here is surprisingly useful. You only really want to set up here if you're a Symmetra or a Torbjorn or maybe a Bastion, but don't be afraid to sit here if you're a McCree. People aren't going to want to look here, and you can do amazing amounts of damage, and if worst comes to the worst, you can come up here and ult. This position down here is a really, really nice position for McCree to be. Most offensive heroes can do well here, but you are going to want to be very careful as you can get overwhelmed very, very quickly. So a very nice spot for Torbjorn to set up is right here. This way is because they cannot get flanked in any direction. They cannot be outranged anywhere unless the person goes literally over there, like by the next point. But if that happens, you can just set it up here, and there is no way you can be outranged. The only person who you might have trouble with is Farah, but again, there's invisible walls all the way along here. There's no way for Farah to get to you without a Farah taking damage, and there's pretty much no shot that she can make where she area of effect damages you. But just to be on the safe side, I like to set it up right here in this point here. Doesn't mean you're set up from range from over there, but that's literally never happened to me. So I like to set up just here, and you'll be amazing at damage you can get off. Torbjorn can set up around about here, and a really nice little spot is a big health pack right here. So if you do find yourself taking damage, you can just run up there, get a quick health pack, and then come back. While you are doing all that, they will try and push forward from there, from that flank, occasionally from the side flank, and hardly ever from the back. If you do find yourself getting taken a position, this is where you need these people to come back. This is why I would say on this map you want at least one sniper, at least one builder. Now I'm putting in Bastion with builders. I think Symmetras, Torbjorns, and Bastions are the three builders. And you want a tank, and the other heroes you can kind of be flexible with. But I want someone always on my team on this map, always 100% every time. I want someone who can consistently 1v1 opponents. I don't care who it is, but I want you to 1v1 opponents, because if someone gets in the position, if someone gets here, I want them to die, and I want them to die super quick. I want a Soldier 76, or a McCree, or a Genji, or even a Tracer. Just kill them. You need someone who's able to just go on the point and kill them, because if you can't 1v1, if you can't kill that one person, because one person will slip through and get on the point. If you can't kill them really quickly, you will just snowball out of control, and then you just die, and then it's just not very good at all. So always have one person, and then always be prepared if you're the Widowmaker or you're the Hanzo, or anyone who can get in here quickly to back them up. And you need to kill that person as soon as possible, because as soon as there's one person on the point and they kill someone, so say you have 6v6, this person, say I'm on the attacking side here, this is what you want to do as the attacking side, and this is what you want to avoid as the defending team. You want to get on the point here and start ticking. As soon as you're here, the point will start ticking and they'll fall back to try and defend. You want to then kill one person. That's all you want to do. Once you're on the point and you're taking the point, if you kill one person, you will pretty much guarantee that you'll get the point there. Because if you can kill one person any way possible, you can use an ult, you can use an ability, you can just use primary fire, doesn't matter. You kill one person, then someone else has to come down to deal with you. That means that then from this choke coming in, which your team will be pressuring, of course, because of course you have the Reinhardts and the D.Vas and the Winstons and all that, they will have 4 people to defend. They will have a 4v5 situation, and that is so huge. So once you can kill one person here, you either get the point or your team gets the point afterwards. Very, very useful, which is why you want to kill that person that gets on the point as soon as possible. Once this point's been taken, point B activates. As you can see, this is going to be a very, very long guide. I apologise, but I really think that people need to understand this map really properly, as I see too many people making too many mistakes on this map and just screwing it up. So, the next point, now this is kind of important because there's 2 ways of getting to this next point. You can either go the classic way, which allows for a big team shove, allows for a big hit, and you can do a lot of damage, and you can really put an intimidating shove on at the front door. However, it is remarkably easily defended. The other way, and this works really, really well if most of the enemy team is alive when the other point is taken, most likely they will be around about the midpoint on the map, is you can try and backdoor them. Now, most heroes can do this. Any hero that has relatively high mobility can make this, and if you can make this, you want to get as many of you as possible, make it over this point, and then come and just get on the point. This forces them back and just puts them on the back foot so badly. The only bad thing about this position is there's no way you can go where you can't be flanked from either the spawn side, which is back here, or the retreating side, which is in front of here. There's literally no way you can go to hide from both of those points at once. I would say your best bet is probably to go close to this wall, try and get as much damage off on the retreating side as possible, and then turn around and try and get a kill. If you get one kill, you'll be amazed how much damage you do, but I've gotten 3/3, even 2/3 sometimes, many times, just by doing the backdoor technique. It's really, really useful. If you find yourself up against a lot of defense, just buy time. If you could sit here dealing damage, like drawing off their snipers, up here is a good spot for them to try and defend. If you can kill off the junk rats and stuff that are up there, your team will just have a very, very, very good time. Again, this is going to be me talking about attacking the second point here. And if you find yourself a lot of defense, get it. If you don't, just take the point. If you go in the classic approach, you will end up normally with a Reinhardt in front of you around about here. Now, once you're at this point, you have 3 choices, or 3 paths you can take. You can either take the straight route, which is just up, over, and you take loads of damage. Junkrat's up here, Widowmaker's up there, everyone everywhere. It's going to take loads of damage. It's really difficult to pull this one off. This is the hardest approach. The front door approach is so difficult. The other way is to get your tank or someone set up here, and your offensive team dive down here. This isn't going to be much easier. It basically just allows you some free ground, and if you're high mobility, you can make it up here, and then you make it to here. This is about as close, but because you have the flank, their snipers aren't going to be that effective against you, and whoever's up on this thing here, I'm going to talk about this in a second, isn't going to be that useful, but you are still going to have to kill them all at one point. And at this point now, on objective B, trading 1-for-1 as the defender is worth it. If you kill one person and you die, it is worth it as the defender on spawn point B. This is because your spawn is much closer than their spawn is, and you're going to get back to defend much quicker than they're going to get back to attack. That's why it's worth it, and that's why it's not worth it on the previous point. So when you're here, you can get 1-for-1 trades. You can do really well, and the idea of going here is to whittle down as many of them as possible in order to let your team at the front door, or the third way, which I'm going to talk about now. I'm not talking about this way because if you're doing this, you're just getting to the position fast, and of course, when you get to the end and everyone's just rushing everything, then going this way is fast, but other than that, it's kind of a one-trick pony. So the other way requires me to go right the way back out. And this is why I like this map. Not only does it look amazing, and it plays like a dream, but there's really a lot of tactics involved and there's a lot of strategy involved in this. And actually too many people just ganking, trying to get kills and treating it like a deathmatch with the objective as a side point. You can make a lot of a big difference just if you understand how the maps work. Now, before I go up to that point, I want to talk about this little shooting gallery up here. I like to call it the shooting gallery because snipers love it when you go here. You are not going to get any ground on this particular point. You'll just poke your head out and you'll get sniped. You might get one kill, which of course is worth it. But like, all you're doing here is drawing fire, and that's not a bad thing. There's nothing bad with drawing fire away from your tanks, away from anyone else, but you really aren't going to get very far along this point. If you're lucky, if you're playing a Winston or a Genji or a Tracer, someone who can move about and shield themselves really quickly, you're going to make it over to this point. But this is a shooting gallery for a reason. The only time this works is when your team is pushing in. They have to deal with the people on the point, and you can play Hanzo, Soldier 76, McCree, someone who has the long range, and just snipe them from the back. That's the only time this works. The big thing that you need to break 100% of the time is their backline defenses. And the way you break their backline defenses is by going up those stairs, and then going up these stairs, and finding yourself here. Here you're vulnerable from this sniping platform. I love this sniping platform as Widowmaker. It's actually my favourite sniping platform in the whole game. Because no one looks up here. You have eyes of that, everywhere. I'm not going to shoot all of them. You can see everywhere and people aren't going to see you. And if you retreat right to the back and crouch, you'll be amazed at the amount of damage or the amount of visibility that you lose. If you crouch back here, people just can't see you. And you can just get away with almost murder. In some cases, literal murder. But you want to stay up there. But if you come up this way, you are vulnerable here. It's a good spot if you want to kill them from up here. Because, of course, you can dive back here and get a few pokes off. But Junkrats, Maze, loads of different people like set up here. Symmetras I've seen Torbjorns, I've seen Bastions set up here. All these kind of people set up here. So this is a really, really key point as an attacking team to break. You really just want to come through here. Genjis like to put their steel trap here. Be careful of that. Like if you come in the corner, just look. If you see it, just kill it and then try and kill them. Otherwise, just be very careful. Don't be afraid to jump through this doorway. Sometimes you get away with it. I wouldn't have that time, but you know, you live and you learn. So once you take this platform, and if they know you're here, just survive for as long as possible. If they don't know you're here, come down here and try and take out their snipers. If you can take out the Junkrat that's up here, you'll be amazed how easy it is to take out the Mei, the Torbjorn, the Hanzo who's here. And once you've taken out 2 people, if you're still alive, you can just hide here. Pop and reflect, pop in dashes, try and get away, and then your team should just be able to come up here and grab it. Easy, easy, easy peasy. Not a problem at all. So, a couple of tips for defending is use these areas. Use these areas, set up in these areas. The best thing I saw once was I saw a Torbjorn set up his turret here. And this seems dumb, and it was dumb. It didn't hit many people. What it meant was that the Junkrat that was here and the Widowmaker that was here were just covered. They were just covered the whole time by a Torbjorn turret, and there was a Bastion down there, and it was just it worked really, really well. I think actually he might set it up over here later on in the game, because of course then you have angles of all of this area and this zone here. I think this is actually a really good spot for a Torbjorn turret. But even if you're not going to set up a Torbjorn turret, you need to hold this. This deck is key. And if you can't hold that, don't come here. There's just too much fire, you're just going to get killed. Admittedly, it is worth it trading 1 for 1 here. So maybe if you can get a kill, if you can consistently get a kill, then do it. But otherwise, I would advise against it. Just hold out for as long as possible. Trading 1 for 1 is worth it. Using ice walls is incredibly powerful. I think Mei is just really, really good at this map. Regardless of where they attack from, they always end up bottlenecking somewhere in here. You can put your ult on here and do crazy amounts of damage. I think Bastion's crazy strong. I think Bastion's strongest from right here because he's got that nice angle and not many people can kill him. I think Pharah's good because you can sweep. Pharah's good for both teams. Genji and all people that can make it around here are really good. Just hold out for as long as possible when you're on defense. When you're on attack, keep rushing at it. Keep trying to take out 1 or 2 people. Keep trying to draw fire. If you can take out 2 people or 3 people, any more than that, you should be able to win the game on your own. Anyway, this has been How to Play Hanamura. Thank you very much for watching. I have Mr. G, and I will see you next time.